We are live waiting for people to come in here. It is January 5th, night before the certification. And we got some stuff we can talk about. Just waiting on people to come in. I know TJ is going to be out there, our great moderator, even though we've been pretty lucky here lately. We've got some interesting things going on. For those of you joining, we're going to be talking news and politics. As we're getting going here, we got some things to talk about. Tomorrow, January 6th, will be the certification of the electoral count, which prior to 2020 was something most people probably didn't even think about. It just kind of happened, and the news kind of covered it. Seeing a few familiar names out there, a few new names. Talking about politics and news and things going on. Tomorrow being January 6th, we got the certification coming up. And I think certification is going to go off without a hitch. I don't think there's going to be any issues with the certification. Remember back in 2022, they passed the Electoral Count Reform Act, which changed how that all works and basically made it ceremonial like it always was intended. I just don't think there's going to be anything that happens. Kate says hopefully goes smooth. Yeah, it should. I'm not expecting any sort of violence or anything, and because they changed the rules on how to object to states. Deegan says, yes, good evening, sir. Is it true that 22 states have not presented or downloaded? I have not heard that. As far as I know, all the states have signed their certification documents. The electors have actually met. Teacher says lots of violence with New Orleans. Yeah, there was. I just don't know if that's going to be related to what's going on tomorrow. JC says hopefully there's a way out of it. Certifying his election, I don't see how. Everyone keeps saying this is going to happen, that's going to happen, that they're going to use that executive order 13848 that Donald Trump signed. Problem is executive orders can't override the Constitution. And all it talks about in that executive order is sanctions against foreign countries for meddling in the election. Now, it looks like that might have actually happened, but that still doesn't give us any sort of change to the result. When they meet tomorrow to certify the election, Kamala Harris is going to be the one presiding over the certification, and it is probably going to be routine. She'll call out the first state, and no one's going to object. Little Karen says, obviously Trump cheated, so that changes the results, dude. The problem is there's been no evidence presented of that other than people saying that they think something happened. Now, if there's evidence behind that we have not seen, that may change. And tomorrow I may have to do a corrections video saying, hey, I was wrong. That, X, Y, and Z happened, and, Kamala Harris has been declared the winner. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Donald Trump is going to be inaugurated. He'll be inaugurated on the 20th. And TJ says, weird shit going on. Yeah. You were telling me a little bit about it before I came on. Marjorie Taylor Greene acting very weird, talking about fighting for Donald Trump and not gloating and boasting. There's a lot of weird stuff, but I would love to do nothing more than come on tomorrow and have to make a corrections video saying Kamala Harris actually won. That whatever was presented proved that X, Y, and Z happened. But until I see it, I don't want to get into the realm of conspiracy theories and thinking that anything's going to happen. And I'm just going to get rid of this guy here. Elena says we could only hope that he won't be inaugurated, but he will, unfortunately. That's what I'm thinking. I think he's going to be inaugurated, but as I've said in a lot of videos, once he gets inaugurated, once he takes the oath of office, basically the clock is ticking at that point. Republicans don't need him as much as he needs the Republicans. They can move on with J.D. Vance. If he gets too far out of line, they may be left with no choice but to remove him themselves, just because they have to get reelected in 2 to 4 years. And I think that's what we're going to see. Little Karen says it's going to all be delayed. Again, would love to come on tomorrow and say I'm wrong. I just don't see how that's going to happen. I thought they were going to have to delay it all because they couldn't come to a House Speaker. And they somehow managed to pull out a House Speaker. Now, I think with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he's also on the clock. Anytime after tomorrow, I would not be surprised if there is a vote to vacate the Speaker's chair almost, at any point after that. They may put up with him for a while. They may wait till after the inauguration, but I don't think he survives all 2 years. I think he ultimately gets removed before the end of the term. Now, when the Democrats have been in control the last several times, in the rules package they had, they did not allow for the removal of the Speaker. And at whatever point the Democrats get control again, we presume Hakeem Jeffries would be Speaker, and I expect that to be the way it goes again, is that there will not be any sort of motion to vacate the chair allowed during the next term, whenever Democrats get control. Whether that is this term through special elections, resignation, whenever Democrats get control. Whether that is this term through special elections, resignations, things like that, or whether it is in 2 years because Democrats have gotten control back because Donald Trump and the Republican leadership have turned it into a shit show. Deegan says the Electoral College certificate should be downloaded 5 days before the election. It's late. Yeah, I don't know about all that. I just know, I just think that tomorrow everything's going to go off without a hitch. I would love to come out tomorrow and have to do a corrections video. And that would probably make me extremely happy that something happened and everything changed. But that would also mean the Democrats fought. And it doesn't, I know they don't leak. They keep everything close to the vest. I don't see it happening. Miss Singleton says, where is Vance? J.D. Vance is, well, he underwent a scheduled minor operation. I saw something about that today. But he is exactly where you'd expect him to be, out of sight. I've seen numerous theories as to why he's out of sight. Some people are suggesting Republicans are keeping him out of sight because they know at some point they may have to rid themselves of Donald Trump. That way they can keep J.D. Vance relatively clean of the fallout of Donald Trump. Some people are suggesting that it is Donald Trump keeping J.D. Vance in the loop or out of the loop because he doesn't want J.D. to upstage him, knowing that J.D. Vance is going to be the one to presumably run for election in 28, and he doesn't want J.D. Vance stealing any of the limelight. And that's why Donald Trump was going to get rid of Elon Musk, too. At some point, he's going to get sick of Elon Musk taking away his limelight, and he'll move on. He will move to somebody else. Little Karen says, I gave Johnson 2 months and he's out with it within 2 months. Yeah. That's an interesting thought that it could be 2 months. Entirely possible that he could be out in 2 months. It's, I think they want to get past the inauguration. I think that's why they're siding with Donald Trump as best they can now to avoid issues. And then once he takes the oath of office, I keep saying it, he needs them more than they need him. And they can always go to Vance. They may have to make that shift. And they're going to be pushback. There's already talk out of John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, saying, we'll see what happens when these people come up through their vote in Congress. If they don't, they will have to go through the process, and if they don't get out of committee, or if they don't pass the Senate vote, then they don't pass. He did say they're not rubber stamping it. He also said it's possible that some of them might make it. So we'll see. I think Hegseth, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Linda McMahon, and a couple others, I think, are in real jeopardy. We already saw Matt Gaetz being told absolutely hell no, and to the point where he had to withdraw his nomination. Melania says several states still don't have the certificates in. That's interesting. Little Karen says, I will look for you tomorrow. Well, I will throw this out there. If you're looking for me, if you don't see my stuff here on TikTok, because TikTok likes to bury my content, I do post all my stuff up over on my YouTube page, Analytical Iowan, over there as well. Link in my bio. I do that because TikTok likes to bury my stuff. It's very strange. Some days my videos only get 100 to 200 views in the first 6 hours. Then they slowly start to climb. It gets kind of frustrating, but I do have my stuff up over on YouTube as well if you're looking for it. TJ says he's at Ashley Home Furniture. Now, knowing TJ, I know he's talking about JD Vance. That's his favorite place to say Vance is hiding. Deegan says, can Trump really have a rally the day before his inauguration? Yes, he can. Then that kind of leads into Milana's point. I hope the National Guard will be there to keep things in line this time. I think they will. Because Joe Biden's in charge of the National Guard. And until 12 noon on January 20th, Joe Biden can call up the DC National Guard and do that. And I think he would if he gets any sort of information saying, hey, this is going to be hinky, there's going to be issues, Joe Biden would do it. Unlike the military under Donald Trump, where they went, yeah, we got all these reports, but ignore them because they're Trump's people. Would JD make more reasonable picks? I agree. I think he would. I think JD Vance would make more reasonable picks. The other thing is, JD Vance is smarter than Donald Trump. And I know that doesn't take much. But the reason I say JD Vance is smarter is he's at least aware of what he doesn't know, and he would listen to people. Donald Trump believes 100% that he is the smartest person in the room at all times, and if he needs to be told something, he thinks he can learn everything he needs to know about any subject in 2 minutes. And then he's automatically an expert. And most of his followers are the same way. Remember how fast they became legal experts and infectious disease experts and whatever else, whatever they needed to come to the defense of Donald Trump. So J.D. Vance would make better picks, in part because he's aware of his own limitations. Celine says, what about 14th Amendment Section 3? Problem is, they tried that in Colorado with the state case. Supreme Court said one state cannot hold a president off the ballot for nationwide. Now, they never tried another case federally in a federal court. Congress never passed anything saying Donald Trump was ineligible, and they're up against a clock. I don't know how they enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It appears like he should be ineligible, but they're not doing anything. I've heard some people speculate that if Donald Trump gets too far out of line and he does end up pardoning the J6 rioters, that Republicans may use that as their reason to impeach and remove him after he's been in office, as a convenient excuse to move on. Ms. Singleton says, why would they need all this upgraded security if Donald Trump is going to be certified? I don't know. I'm guessing you already got Leacham, TJ. If not, check him out. Any word on Trump and Vance releasing their tax records, since transparency is important? They only care about transparency when it's stuff about them coming from the other side. They don't want to be transparent on their own part. They don't care about any of that. Not at all. Remember, Donald Trump never wanted his tax records released in the first place. He always said they were too complex for us to understand. Then he was under audit and all sorts of excuses. And then he tried to sue when they were going to be brought up in his court cases to make sure that they never saw the light of day. He didn't want his taxes out there. He doesn't want transparency. J.D. Vance is hiding behind the sofa. That's why we haven't seen him. That's probably true. They want him hiding. They want him hidden for two reasons. Like I said earlier, they want him to not be in the public eye so that, when he has to become president, because of any reason, whether they use the 25th Amendment, whether they impeach and remove him, whether Donald Trump's health just catches up to him, and he is 78 years old. And I made the same comments about Joe Biden when he got elected, that he was 78 years old. It was entirely possible that anything could happen, just by virtue of being 78. And they want to keep J.D. Vance as free from the stink of whatever dumb shit Donald Trump tries to do for as long as he's president. So that way, when he comes in, he's not immediately unelectable, even though he will be unelectable because he's associated with Donald Trump. And hopefully the Democrats have learned their lesson and can figure out how to run a decent candidate. And that's not a knock on Kamala Harris. She was a decent candidate. They screwed up how they handled that entire campaign, from how they pushed out Joe Biden, how the Democrats themselves, even after he endorsed her, some of them were still squawking about wanting a fight at the convention, and how she listened to bad advice and ended up palling around too long with Liz Cheney. There was some mistakes made, but not because Kamala Harris was a bad candidate. Joyce says that nut is capable of anything just to show he's doing it. I'm assuming. Let's see. I'm assuming with that you're talking about Donald Trump. Ms. Singleton says a fifth grader is smarter than Donald Trump. Yeah. That's why he got elected. he speaks and talks and thinks at a fourth to sixth grade level. And most of his supporters resonate with that because that's about where they're at. And then when he comes out and he's using two-syllable words at best, and sometimes incorrectly, they cheer him because they're not getting talked down to by educated people, and that's how they think. They've always hated educated people. Trevor says, I'm fine with JD. Compared to Trump, if we have to have one of the two, I would agree. I would much rather have JD Vance, only because he's smart enough to know what he doesn't know, and you can actually talk to him, and you're not going to be stuck at whatever 3 a.m. whim he has, because that's when Donald Trump is the most awake and the most alert. Let's see. David says, Garland was garbage. This should have been settled. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Merrick Garland was a horrible pick for Attorney General. And even Joe Biden is admitting that it was a bad pick, at least privately. Merrick Garland should have been done a lot more, but he viewed everything as political. He thought the political process should handle everything involving Trump, but then you have people like Mitch McConnell, when they actually had Donald Trump up on impeachment charges, said, well, this is a matter for the criminal justice system. Both sides wanted the other to deal with Donald Trump. And that just doesn't work. One side or the other was going to have to make a play, and Merrick Garland didn't want to make that move. If Joe Biden, what he should have done was, after the midterms, when we found out that was when Merrick Garland finally instituted a change and put in Jack Smith as special counsel, and then just finally starting the investigation, he should have fired Merrick Garland, if for nothing more than on principle. Chris says, how about Executive Order 13848? As DJ says, it doesn't supersede the Constitution. That's the thing. They don't have to. The executive order doesn't really say anything about people domestically or candidates. It's talking specifically about foreign entities, foreign actors, foreign countries, things like that. At least the way I read it. Now, maybe there is something to it, and there's more to it that I don't understand. And some people are like, well, it was updated here, it was updated there, or extended. I would love to see it happen, but I'm not going to venture into the realm of a conspiracy theory and hope that it does. If it does, I'll come back and I'll make a correction video tomorrow saying, hey, I was wrong. These things did happen. Cool. Here's the fallout. Here's what happened. But until then, I can't... I'm just not going to hold all my hope out on that. Deegan says if they don't use 14th Amendment Section 3, then they have to amend the whole Constitution. I wouldn't say that, but they need to do something with it. They need to pass something, do something to clarify exactly how it applies. And quite honestly, when they put that amendment out there, they really expected that neither party would run somebody who was guilty of giving aid or comfort to an insurrection. They really didn't. A lot of these things are worded the way they are because they didn't expect that one of the parties would become completely complacent with somebody like Donald Trump. Robin says, I think JD is out. No, he's not out. He's not out at all. They just want him... they just want him in hiding for when he ultimately is going to have to take over. Let's see. Joy says they can't because Pence got caught up in Trump's mess. You're aligned with the prez as his VP. Yeah. Greenman says she only had 100 days to run versus Rump's 4 years. Oh, yeah. Looks like we've got quite a few of them out there, TJ. Oh, yeah. As he says, shows Democrats are loyal. It was a Democrat favor since he didn't make the Supreme Court. Yeah. And history won't be kind to Merrick Garland. Yeah, talking about Merrick Garland. Yeah, Joe Biden, and I heard somebody else was saying that it sounds like Garland wasn't Joe Biden's first pick. He was talked into it by other top Democratic leadership. And as kind of a thank you to, or a consolation prize for not making the Supreme Court. Ultimately, all around, just a horrible, horrible pick. Let's see. Johnny Jonya says, "Why have I been hiding though? He he's been MIA. Well, because they want to keep him away from anything Donald Trump related. Um, they want him as clean as possible for when Donald Trump does all of the dumb shit that he's gonna do, and he ultimately starts passing and trying to do a bunch of stuff that hurts the economy and stuff. When they have to go in and say, okay, enough's enough. I think they are preparing for that. Republicans are. You know, the tariffs are going to wreck the economy. Donald Trump's tax cuts to wealthy people, even though they say they're on board, the Republicans sound like they're on board. They're saying it now. We'll see how they vote when he's actually in office. Because those tax cuts last time are proven to not help the economy. And when he wrecks the economy and things go to shit, they're blaming Republicans because they have all three branches of government. It is a conservative Supreme Court. They have both houses in Congress. They have the presidency. And they need to do something to save themselves for the midterms and after. They don't want people to remember that J.D. Vance is actually very close to Donald Trump. In part, I think that was Kamala Harris's problem when she ran a lot because she hadn't been highlighted. She kind of got lost in doing her job as the vice president. Most people didn't know who she was because she wasn't very visible. I'm assuming TJ already got that one. Kelly says his supporters love the hate. They do. Mike Pence was so close to being president, but he was unelectable thanks to Trump. Yep, that's exactly it. And because Donald Trump didn't understand how the certification went, and most people hadn't even thought about the certification until Donald Trump got this harebrained, crazy idea that somebody told him could work, and was talking about it nonstop, basically. And because Mike Pence didn't go along when it really wasn't anything he could do anyway, Republicans, MAGA specifically, will never forgive Mike Pence. And if J.D. Vance is front and center whenever they pull the rug out from Donald Trump, if they have to be the ones to remove him, MAGA's going to do the same thing with J.D. Vance. Now, if Republicans in the House impeach him and the Senate convicts him with Democratic help and J.D. Vance becomes president, he can say, I had nothing to do with this. and he can go, my hands are, he can come out publicly, maybe say some stuff supporting Donald Trump or something like that. And he can kind of keep clean out of the whole thing. Milana says, Dems can't keep playing softball with Republicans because they play dirty. Yeah, exactly. They do. They play dirty, and we need to play just as dirty. Republicans don't fight fair, have not for years. Problem with the Democrats is they have too many old people in leadership, for one, and they want to still act like the politics works like it did in the 70s, and it just doesn't. The game has changed because the players have changed, and Donald Trump has changed politics, at least temporarily. And Democrats need to adjust to that time frame, and they're just not. Janana says, I don't think I've seen Vance since Trump was elected. Actually, what's going on? Like I keep saying, he's in hiding. They want to keep him. They want to keep his image clean, away from anything that could tarnish him, because he's got to run in 28. He will probably be their candidate in 28. He may have to be president ahead of that because of any number of reasons. And the last thing they want is J.D. Vance basically giving them a whole bunch of stuff that can be used while he's vice president, that Democrats can use as campaign ads and things like that. Artie says, anything in your opinion going to happen unusual tomorrow? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong. If something unusual comes out, I would love to hear about it, come on here, make a correction video saying, hey, I was wrong, and this is what happened. That would be great. I don't think anything unusual is going to happen. I'm not worried about the Trump humpers and the MAGA people trying to invade the Capitol again, because their guy won this time, so clearly it was a fair election, at least according to them. And Democrats don't act like that. People on the left don't act like that. They're not going to storm the Capitol. They're not going to prevent the certification. If something's happening behind closed doors that I haven't heard, that most people haven't heard, it will be a bombshell, and it will be a surprise to the entire country. Deegan says, if Trump believes he will do the right thing, why call his people like J6? Trump believes he will do the right thing. Why call his people? Oh, you're talking about on the 19th. I think the 19th thing, it isn't about having an army there or a bunch of rioters there for, like, to make sure he's inaugurated. I think he just wants to gin up a couple big crowds. He wants the adulation of the roaring crowd and everything. And then he wants the crowd to be there for January 19th. That way, if he doesn't get a big crowd, they can try to last minute figure out a way to get a bigger crowd in on January 20th, because he's all about his crowd sizes and everything like that. Milana says, JD's apparently had surgery. Yeah, he had surgery. I think it was today. And of course, he's got had congressional insurance, some of the best. So, and technically, I don't think he's had to resign his seat just yet. So yeah, he's got great insurance. No Genocide says stock and bond markets are going to bomb. Entirely possible. Donald Trump, if he enacts half of his stuff, everyone's saying, with the exception of a few fringe economists, are saying all of Donald Trump's plans are going to crash the economy. Even Elon Musk is saying we got to go through hardships in order for Donald Trump's plans to work. And all of what they basically mean is we have to get poorer so the rich people can get richer. It doesn't make any sense. Rosetta says he'll blame Obama. Oh, yeah. He'll try. He'll blame Obama. He'll blame Biden. he'll blame a lot of people. Milana says Republicans can't blame anyone for not getting things done after January 20th. You're right. It will all be on them. Everything that happens will be at Republicans' feet, and I don't think they're going to get a lot done. They're going to try. I just don't think they're going to succeed. They are sitting at a 215 Democrats, 219 Republicans in the House. They can lose 2 votes, 2 no votes for anything, and it doesn't pass. Period. Out of the House of Representatives. If you get to 3 no votes from Republicans, it doesn't pass. And aside from a few things that have been carved out of the filibuster, they have to get 60 votes in the Senate. They only have 53. That means they need Democrats. It's just not gonna happen. Rosetta says, I wouldn't have voted for Pence. I wouldn't have either. But the thing is, there are some Republicans who normally would vote for anybody with an R next to their name, regardless of who it is. But some of that group, about 30% of the hardcore Republicans that will always vote Republican no matter what, would never vote for Mike Pence because he was disloyal to Trump. How they have become so brainwashed about one man is beyond me, but that's another story. Milana says, Kamala did an awesome job getting 75 million votes for only having 3.5 months to campaign. Exactly. She had 3.5 months. And she had 3.5 months, raised a ridiculous amount of money, had a lot of excitement going her way, and beyond that, you know, I think if they would have showcased her more during the first half of the Biden term, I think it would have helped. If they would have, if Joe Biden had given her more time to run, that would have helped. I also have wondered if Joe Biden, instead of resigning or deciding not to run, if he would have resigned the presidency, if that would have changed things. And if her being president going into the election, if that would have made a big difference, and I think it might have. They kept Donald Trump during his first term because Mike Pence was not electable. That was part of it. But it really wasn't until after he lost the election that we saw how bad Donald Trump really was. All the rest of it didn't come out till then. And that's a problem. Like, they didn't realize how bad exactly he was. So they went ahead and after that, that's what should have made Donald Trump unelectable until the Republicans brought him back into the fold. Princess, hello. Hello, Bren. GB121 says, people are tired of old politicians. They want to change. Yeah. They do. Like here in Iowa, I keep railing about it. Chuck Grassley, my senator, he is 91 fucking years old. He's already filed the paperwork to run again in 2028 for his next term when he will be 95. How in the hell is a 95-year-old in any shape to make laws for this country? The Reaper could come for him at any minute, being 91. He's probably looking over his shoulder at every turn, wondering where the Green Reaper's going to strike. I bet you he pulls out the paper every day searching the obituaries for his own name. Like, why is somebody that old making laws for the people in this country? We need a change. Love Boomer Podcast says, when is the next time you will be in the podcast? Hopefully not with too many people. I don't know. I'm going to reach out to Mike here soon and find out what his guest schedule looks like and set something up. I want to get back on the podcast again. And hash it out. I like doing the podcast, whether it's just me and Mike or whether it's a panel and a live like we've been doing. I like doing it either way. So, but whenever I am back on, I will probably be posting a TikTok announcing that I'm on the podcast that day, like I usually do. And of course, I do lives quite frequently, and I'll announce it in the live as well whenever I'm back on the podcast. Carol Sue Creation says Mother Nature's storm will keep a lot of people away for a couple days. Yeah, the bad weather coming in might keep some of the protesters away. It won't keep the politicians away, but it'll definitely keep some of the crazies away. Joyce says we need new energy on the Dem side. It's just stale, and I don't know. I like Pelosi, but we need a fresh face. Yeah, I keep saying that on these lives. Pelosi is what, 82, 84 years old, something like that? And you're telling me we can't find anybody else in San Francisco to run for the Democrats? And, that we can't find anybody else to run for the Democrats. They could find anybody in San Francisco to run for the Democrats and not be 84 years old. But these old people don't want to get rid of the levers of power. They want to keep calling the shots. That's why AOC didn't make it on the oversight committee. Brent says hopefully nobody shows up on the 19th. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Milana says 19th is prayer with Trump, but only if they pony up $100,000 to pray with him. Yeah. Yeah, $100,000 to pray with Trump. Yeah, that's just unreal. Man, I guarantee you that man has never seriously prayed in his life. He may have gone through the motions a couple of times, but that's about it. TKO says Maya thinks government runs on executive orders only. Oh, MAGA. Yeah, MAGA doesn't understand how the government works. I was watching just a few minutes of the live stream of the speaker vote, and there were MAGA supporters clearly in the stream I was watching saying Democrats needed to leave the live stream because this was a Republican-only issue. No, who runs the speaker, or who is the Speaker of the House, is a country issue. But they think it's like their favorite sports team picking a captain. Like, they have no idea how the government works. GB121 says, is already gone. Darren says, nope, I'm guessing, is Darren gone too? Let's see. Well, he is now. TKO says, I agree they should have showcased Biden's achievements. Yeah. One of the things I've been talking about is that I wish Joe Biden would have done something kind of like what FDR did and had weekly fireside chats and with modern technology, of course, it'd be like the President's Fireside Podcast or something like that, where every week he could talk about the benefits of whatever he's passed, whatever they're working on, and crow a little bit about what they've achieved. But Democrats don't do that. They let their achievements stand for themselves now and hope people are smart enough to understand what's going on. The problem is we got a lot of people in this country who just aren't that informed. They have bought into Fox News being called news, and they believe because it has news in the title that it's actually reliable news, and it's not. Deegan says, off the record, rumor has it that Elon Musk is not a human being. I mean, he definitely doesn't act like a human being. Joyce says, I mean, exactly. I mean, they got to do something about this requirement. Not sure what requirement you are talking about now. Greenman says we need term limits so badly. Term limits or age limits. We need something. Problem is, the only way to get those is to pass a constitutional amendment, which has to go through Congress, and Congress isn't going to pass an amendment to limit their own ability to run for re-election. They're just not. TJ says I need to go soon. Well, I'm probably going to wrap up in about 10 to 15 minutes. Carlin says Grassley's infuriating. Get off the stage already. Yeah. Grassley needs to go. He does. He's 91, going to run again at 95. Now, just because he filled out the paperwork does not mean he's going to actually run. But it's scary enough that he's considering it. But I've also heard that the plan is here at some point they want him to resign so Governor Kim Reynolds can appoint his grandson Pat to fill the spot. So that way when you keep going into the voting booth to vote for his replacement or the next senator, you see the name Grassley and you just keep voting for it thinking you're voting for the same person. And now they got another 40 or 50 years of a Grassley as senator, and people be just always voting for Grassley because they recognize the name. TKO says Pelosi is actually tougher than some young ones. Oh, I'm not arguing that she's not tough. That's not the problem. It's the simple fact that she's 84. How many more years does she have left? 10, 15 on a, if you're lucky. A lot of these old people are making decisions that affect young people who have no idea what the world is like for people. Hell, I'm 40, going to be 42 here soon. And I don't entirely know what it's like for young people anymore in this country. I graduated before they started doing school shooting drills. Never had to go through that in high school, grade school, none of it. There are people in this country who have never gone to school in a year that didn't have one of those now, that have already graduated high school. These old people do not know what it is like to be young anymore. They don't understand society has changed. They want to, society's way more accepting than it was even 10 years ago. And there's just a lot going on that these older people don't know. It's not about whether or not they're tough or whatever. It's that we need fresh blood that are younger, that are going to be making decisions about things because it's going to be affecting them the longest. Democrats should be the party of youth. Yes. Yes, they should. That definitely would help. And that's also not a knock on Kamala Harris. I know she was 60 compared to Trump's 78. That is young by comparison. But remember at one time we had we had JFK, who won it like 36 as a Democratic president. They need to go back to that where we run younger people. Hell, Bill Clinton was president when I graduated high school. He's younger than Donald Trump. We just need young people again. Younger people running. Joyce said, yes, Columbine happened my senior year. Yeah. It happened, I think I was either a sophomore or a junior when that happened. And we really didn't feel the fallout of Columbine. It was a one-off thing at that point. It was okay, this happened. There weren't really any changes. From Columbine, not initially. As the school shootings kept happening, that's when they started making actual changes because of it. Gino says, what about House member from Texas that has been in a senior living facility, Kay Granger? Well, that is now former House member. She did not run for election in the last election. And as of January 3rd, the new Congress took over. So she is out of Congress either way. She had been there since July of 24. No one apparently knew where she was. Nobody in the Republican Party, none of her constituents, nobody was talking about it. And that's a problem. And that's also a problem with the Democrats. Why weren't the Democrats talking about it? Where were they? Why weren't we hearing about it from our Democratic members of Congress in the House saying, hey, we've got a member of the House that's been missing for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months now, going into the election and talking about it? They weren't. You're telling me they never once noticed that she had been gone for a while? That's a problem. Sue says, Columbine was in 99, a month before my oldest son was born. Yeah. And it was still an anomaly. It hadn't happened. I think that was like the first mass school shooting that got, I don't know if it was the first one ever, but it was the first one that got major news coverage. And afterward, there have been so many more now that there are active shooter drills in school. And those of us that were in school at the time, and especially those of us that have graduated around then or right after, never experienced the fallout from it. But there are young people that are coming up that don't know what it was like before Columbine. Flower Lady says, do you think Trump will be certified tomorrow? As of right now, I say yes. I think the certification is going to happen. It's going to go off presumably without a hitch. I don't expect any violence coming from people on the right because their guy won. So why would they interrupt the election? However, if we use their logic, because they're convinced January 6th happened because it was people on the left trying to stop the certification of the election to make sure that Biden was certified to win an election he won, all in an effort to make Donald Trump look bad. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But according to their logic, they may try to do something to stop the certification to make Joe Biden look bad. It doesn't make any sense. I just don't think there's going to be any violence. I think certification's going to happen. But as I've said several times in this live, I would love nothing more than something unexpected to happen tomorrow. Any one of these ideas to come to pass that we weren't expecting, and end up getting having to come on here tomorrow and make a correction video, maybe doing a live tomorrow saying, hey, you know what, this, that, or the other happened, here's the fallout, here's what happened. And if it means Donald Trump isn't president, I would love to make a video like that. I'm not seeing anything that gives me any reason to expect that. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and this could happen or that could happen or this means something. I know there's a lot of weird stuff going on out there, but I think part of it has to do with the fact that Republicans were ready for a fight. They were geared up, they were ready to fight, they expected to lose, and they were going to have to fight for their guy. And then he wins. And now they have to somehow justify him winning. So they're still angry because they don't know what to do. Rebecca says, not going down the rabbit hole doesn't mean we can't at least have some hope. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I would love to, you know, um, like I said, do the videos saying that it's gonna happen. I mean, that's why I'm still gonna be paying attention tomorrow. I'm gonna be focused. When I get chances, I'm gonna look at the news and see what's happening and follow it as close as I can. Good thing I'm off tomorrow. Um, I'm not just gonna sit back and say, well, it happened and expect it to go off and not follow it. I'm gonna follow it, but I'm uh, just waiting to see what happens, I guess. Gino says, Eric, do you think Sarah Adams, former CIA analyst, predictions for 25 are accurate? Don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what her predictions are. I haven't seen anything on it. Um, um, I'm already starting to see there are ads going around here in Iowa already for a primary challenger to our other senator, the one I don't talk about nearly as often as Grassley, that being Joni Ernst. And there's already a Republican gearing up to primary her. And sounds and talks a lot like Donald Trump. Starts the video off saying, "You suck, Joni," and at one point tells her to get fucked, and just, the typical low class, low hanging fruit that a Donald Trump supporter would have. But this is what I'm talking about. They can't agree with themselves. And if I hope, I hope that this guy ends up being successful primarying out Joni Ernst, because that would give the Democrats a chance to end up maybe picking up a state seat here in Iowa, because the incumbency does help a lot. If you don't have an incumbent going in with that name recognition, it could make a lot of change. Sue says, have you seen the posts about not all the states having certified? 22 states, 6 being swing. I've only heard about that in this live. I haven't seen any news coverage of that anywhere. So I guess if I see any reporting on that, I'll do a video. What are you getting into? But I haven't seen anything on that from any sort of credible reporting. Just only really heard about it in this live. As far as I know, all the states had to have already been certified. All of the electors had to sign their certificates, and tomorrow is going to just be a formality, like it was before Donald Trump. Prior to 2020, when was the last time you actually thought about the certification of the electoral count vote? 2000 maybe? When Al Gore had to certify his own loss to George W. Bush? Maybe. Prior to that, who knows? There are a lot of things that have always just been formalities in politics that were mostly ceremonial, usually got a rubber stamp, that Donald Trump has shed a light on. And he has just made us think about these things that normally didn't matter, right? We knew who won the election. You never thought about it being certified on January 6th. It wasn't a thing because it was never contested until Trump. When it came time to raise the debt ceiling, without fail, every time they would vote to extend it by something. Every single time. There was never a worry about the government defaulting until Trump. There were government shutdowns before Donald Trump, but until Donald Trump, once there was a deal between both parties, typically that bill passed. Except for Donald Trump. For people saying he knows what he's doing and he's a great politician and this and that, he's not. He doesn't have a clue as to how any of this works. He's just, he's winging it and hoping for the best because he wants his way and everything else to be damned. I think after Donald Trump's out of office, I think you're going to see a lot of changes come because of Donald Trump. I thought that the last time too, but I think there's going to be more urgency. I wouldn't be surprised if they pass some kind of a constitutional amendment that oh, come here. You want attention. Come here. They pass some kind of a constitutional amendment that would prevent felons from running, things like that. I do think that's going to happen. Yeah, she's being very needy for attention today. I think there's going to be some stuff like that come out after Donald Trump. They may put in there along with it that a clarification of the 22nd Amendment, making sure that it is understood that it is 2 terms, period. Not 2 consecutive terms or anything like that. Even though, as I've said, by the time they passed the 22nd Amendment, Grover Cleveland had already served 2 non-consecutive terms, and you'd already had Teddy Roosevelt serve 2 terms, and then run for a 3rd non-consecutive term. So they knew that was a possibility, and if they meant consecutive, they would have said that. But I think you're going to see some clarifications and some changes after Donald Trump is out of office. TKO says, can SCOTUS presidential immunity be overturned? Yes. Several ways. It can be overturned with something the Democrats tried to pass, which will not get passed until next time Democrats have both chambers of Congress and the presidency, and that's with the No Kings Act, which basically said that presidential immunity was never a thing, and no president has immunity. And it even tells the DOJ they can arrest a sitting president should they have committed crimes. That's one way. 2, they could pass a constitutional amendment, which is the strongest way to change a Supreme Court decision, is you just change the Constitution. So they're saying, well, there is by their reading of the Constitution, that the president has immunity, basically because it doesn't say that he doesn't. So you change the Constitution. Now he doesn't have immunity. The only other way to overturn a Supreme Court case would be with a different Supreme Court. So after they've replaced several people, then another court case would have to make its way to the Supreme Court, and then they could overturn themselves. Prime example of the court overturning itself would be, was it Plessy v. Ferguson, the one that said separate but equal was okay, and then Brown v. Board, which said separate but equal is not okay. Gino says, Honduras president wants Trump to take the U.S. military bases out of her country. Been there rent-free. Yeah, I heard that. And basically, it's what I read was it's not just that they want them out because they've been rent-free. They have no problem with them being there and them being rent-free. It was, you start mass deportations, you start kicking out a bunch of Honduran people, most of whom who are here through visa programs or what have you, And then we will respond by kicking out the U.S. military out of Honduras. It's one of the few leveraging points that Honduras has, as far as that goes. So we'll see if he does his mass deportations like he plans. What I think is going to probably happen, the more likely scenario is going to be that Donald Trump is going to force all of the people who already have orders of deportation, which means they've been to court, they've had their day, and they are told they need to leave, that just haven't been forced out yet. He will probably do something to force all of those people out, make a big show of it, and then that'll probably be the end of it. It'll probably be all performative and blown way out of proportion. Frida says, a search of news articles did not reveal any reports of states not certifying the election. Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't seen any news on any of that. Just people in... The first time I heard about states not having certified was in this particular live. Not even on the live I did, was it last night or the night before? So... I don't know if there's anything to that. I guess I'll find out tomorrow when they do the certification. STW 1962 says, as far as that goes, Honduras wouldn't have a choice now, would it? Not about the Honduran citizens getting deported, but it is not an actual American base. It is a joint. It's their base that we operate out of, basically. The way I understand it is, and even then, I do believe, even for ones where it is our base on foreign soil, it is still at the will of the country that it's in. STW says, we don't need it anyway. Technology has improved where we don't have to be anywhere near Honduras. Maybe not. But it's just another cog in the fuck around and find out that Donald Trump is going to be dealing with. Where foreign countries are going to say, okay, your actions will have consequences. And they're not going to put up with the bullshit that he wants to try to do. Especially when, as part of this deportation, he was floating the idea of saying that, well, if their home country won't take them, yeah, and you're gone. But they've already said that some of these countries aren't going to take their citizens back. For one reason or another, because of international treaties, you have to get the receiving country has to agree to take them. You can't just fly a plane in, drop them off, and go, here you go. Doesn't work like that. Well, they've already floated the idea of using third countries. So, like, everybody who doesn't want to, or whose country doesn't want to take them, maybe they all go to Venezuela, or they all go to the Dominican Republic, or wherever. They would be going to a country they have no tie to, just because that country would be willing to take those people in. And it just, the mass deportation thing, it's not going to work. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as bad as what people want us to believe. Because Donald Trump is not going to get a blank check from Congress to do it. It's going to take a lot of money to do what he wants. As they're trying to go back to their roots of saying they're fiscally responsible, etc., they can't give him a blank check to just do whatever. Don't think it's going to happen. Also here, probably before Donald Trump takes office, they're going to have to come up with a deal on the debt ceiling. Probably going to need Democrats for that too. And Joe Biden will have to sign it because we're pretty much up against it. And they may not have until January 20th when Donald Trump takes over to fix the debt ceiling problem. And I'm sure Donald Trump will be all pissed about that it got kicked out that far, but that's probably what's going to happen. All right, I've been going just a little over an hour here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me tonight. For those of you that joined in later, I'm going to throw this out there like I do every time I record all my lives. This will be posted up over on my YouTube page, Analytical Iowan on YouTube. I post all my lives up there in case you have missed it and you want to catch it out, catch the whole thing, what have you, watch it again for whatever reason. It will be up over on my YouTube page probably sometime tomorrow, depending on how long it takes me to download it from TikTok and then get it posted. Encourage you to check out my YouTube page, Analytical Iowan on YouTube. Besides my lives, I post all my TikToks up over there. I do have some longer form videos where I talk about varying things I see people get wrong about how the government works, how different things work, or just longer videos than I can post to TikTok without doing them in multiple parts. So I got some other stuff over there. The link to my YouTube page can be found in my bio, as well as the other social media sites I'm on as well. So I want to thank you for joining me, and I will catch you the next time I go live.